Very good morning, students. In this short video on the supinator muscles, I am going to tell you about the origin, the insertion, nerve supply and action of the supinator muscle. Why I have chosen this supinator muscle to record this video? The reason is that supinator muscle is very deeply situated and it is posterior to the elbow joint, and then its action is quite a complicated origin, insertion and action is there. Students are mostly confused with this muscle. So I take this supinator muscle for the video recording. Let us come first to the origin of the supinator muscle. This is the ulna as well as the radius from that of the right side. So this is my right ulna and the radius, and this is in position of the supination. They are running parallel and the hand will be in position. Let us see here in this is the left hand, of course, and here the ulna and the radius are of the left side and they are in the supinated running parallel, and then this is the supinated position. They are running parallel here, supinated. Now the origin of this muscle supinator, it takes place from various places, but before that you understand this ulna, which is of the right side. This facet is called as the radial notch of the ulna, where the head of the radius comes and articulate to form the superior radioulnar joint. Just behind this and below this, see the area. Just below this radial notch here, you will see a fossa, supinator fossa, or the fossa simply, and just on its posterior margin of this radial notch, you will see an extension of the rough ridge. This extension of the rough ridge, and this is called as crest. Better you call it as supinator crest. This is the main site from where the supinator muscle and some of its portion extend into this fossa also. So this is a origin of the head, which is called as transversal. Now the origin as such is in two different head, oblique head and transverse head. I have shown you the origin of the transverse head from supinator crest. We will come again. Let us see to the oblique head. The oblique head of this muscle arises from, this is the capitulum and this is the lateral epicondyle. So the oblique head arises from the lateral epicondyle, then there extend the collateral ligaments, that is of this elbow joint, lateral collateral ligament, and then here is a covering of the annular ligament which covers to the circumference of the head of the radius. So this oblique head takes origin from lateral epicondyle, it takes origin from the lateral collateral ligament of the elbow and from the annular ligament which surrounds the head of the humerus. For example, here if we take this humerus, this is the lateral epicondyle, this is the lateral epicondyle and this is the capitulum. Then these fibers of the origin of the oblique head, they take origin from the front of the and below the inferior aspect of the lateral epicondyle. Then this is the collateral ligament, which is called as the lateral collateral ligament. So they take origin from the collateral ligament and from the annular ligament. Also these fibers which are oblique, and these fibers they go towards the knee as well as towards the the anterior aspect of the shaft in its upper 1/3. So this is the site where this oblique head is going obliquely downwards and medially. And they will gain insertion along with the second head, that is called as the transverse head. So let us see the transverse head, which I have explained, will take origin from the supinator crest and a fossa just below that of the radial notch here of the ulna. So this is the site from where this fiber, and they are called as transverse head. Second head is transverse because they run mostly transversely, not exactly transversely, but mostly transversely. And these fibers, as in this cross section diagram, these are the two cross section diagram. This is exactly the section passing from the, when it is in supinated position, the hand, the forearm is supinated position, and then this section is going like this, and then you can see that the fibers are taking origin from supinator crest. So this is the crest. This is the crest, and from the fossa, that is the radial fossa, okay, just below the radial notch, okay. And these fibers, they run then laterally, backwards, little backwards, laterally, and then they just wind round the posterior surface of the radius. That means here, if they are taking origin, they will first cover the posterior surface, then lateral surface, and then they will come on to the anterior surface. So they will wind round like this, okay, posterior, lateral, and then they will come to the anterior surface of the neck, as well as the upper 1/3 of the shaft of the radius, upper 1/3, okay. So this is the posterior, lateral, and anterior. How these fibers they wind round, and then they will go right up to the anterior surface where they will get attached, okay. So this is the position of supination, where both the bones they are parallel to each other. Right, so this is the second head, okay, the transverse head. See this, in cross section it is looking like transversely running, so that's why it is called as the transverse. So this muscle is deeply situated, okay, deeply situated. And the insertion, if we come, I have already covered the insertion. The insertion of the muscle is onto the posterior, lateral, and anterior surface of the neck, as well as the upper 1/3 of the shaft, and it extends anteriorly up to the anterior border. See, this is the anterior border of the radius, and these fibers coming from anterior, they go right up to the anterior border where they are attached. So this is the insertion which forms a circle. Okay, nerve supply. The nerve supply of this muscle comes from the radial nerve, that is the deep branch of the radial. This is the radial nerve which will lie in front of the lateral epicondyle, then it will give a branch called as the superficial branch, then a deep branch, and the deep branch will pierce this muscle, okay, and will come to the posterior aspect, okay, then will penetrate the posterior part of this one from here. That means it will come like this, okay. If I draw this diagram, this is how the nerve will penetrate in cross section, okay, and this will come here. So this is the posterior division of the radial nerve, which is also here will become as the posterior interosseous, or posterior division will become the posterior interosseous nerve, which is the main source for supply to the extensor muscles of the forearm, okay. It will be supplying on the posterior aspect, it will run and will supply. So its root value will be C6 and C7. C6 and C7. Now what is the function of these? It is the origin coming from the, crest, and then winding round the posterior aspect, then lateral aspect, and will go on to the anterior aspect, okay. Now if you see the function or action of this muscle, this is when the limb is in the supine position, that is forearm in supine position, and when the pronation will take place, okay, then what will happen, that the radius just, okay, come and crosses the ulna. See here how the radius is crossing the ulna. This is the posterior surface of the lower end of the radius, which is now facing anteriorly, and the palm is facing dorsally. See this is the palmar aspect of the hand, okay, skeleton, and this is the dorsal aspect. So you can see that from the capitulum, where the head is in articulation, the radius lies laterally, then crosses anteriorly, and the lower end becomes the medial. This position is called as pronation, and from this pronated position, either it is as the elbow, that is in the flex position of the elbow, or straight when the limb or the forearm rotates laterally, so that the radius becomes lateral and comes parallel to that of the ulna, and the palm of the hand faces anteriorly. This position is called a supination. So this muscle supinator is the muscle which is responsible for supination from the prone position. Okay, from the prone position. This will see this, for example, this is the supination, this is pronation, and now if I want to produce the supination, then this is the supinator muscle will act and will bring the forearm into the supine position, supinated position. But then this is not the only muscle which is producing the supination. There is another muscle here. You can see this is the tendon of the long head of the biceps, which is going to the radial tuberosity. This is that radial tuberosity. See, this is the tuberosity, and on its posterior aspect of the radial tuberosity, there is a rough area to which this tendon is attached. Onto the anterior aspect of the radial tuberosity is the smooth area where there is a bursa which avoid the friction between the tendon and the tubercle. Okay, the bursa is there. Okay, why? Because when this muscle biceps is contracting, the tendon will be rubbing onto this tubercle. To avoid that, there is a bursa is there. So the main supinator is strong supinator is the tendon of the biceps here attached onto the radial tuberosity, along with that of the supinator. So both the muscles, they act simultaneously to provide the supine. This is a normal position, supine position. Now then this is a prone position. You can see that the radial tuberosity has gone backward because the radius has crossed to the ulna, and the posterior surface of the ulna is now, the radius, posterior surface of the radius is now facing forward. So it has crossed, and this is that prone position. And then supinator as well as the long biceps, they will be providing they will be contracting and producing the movement that is called a supination. See that this is the long head, this is the biceps muscles which is attached to the radial tuberosity, and then when it is contracting, its direction of pull is this. Okay. Similarly, when this muscle supinator is contracting in pronated position, it will also pull the radius in. So the upper end of the radius is thus rotated, and because of the rotation, it comes into the normal supine position. So this is how the two muscles, they form a rotation where the radius upper end is rotated laterally, so that the lower end is brought completely laterally, which was anteriorly, and crossing to the radial ulna, it will come anteriorly. So this is the action of the supinator muscle. Okay, I hope that you must have understood the action, the relationship of the nerve, its nerve supply, its origin, and insertion of the muscle. Thank you very much for watching this video.